Welcome back. I want to take a look at prices at the pump this morning. The national average for gasoline now $2.49. My next guest predicting prices will go even higher beginning today and into the new year. Joining us right now is Patrick DeHaan of GasBuddy.com. Patrick, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What do you see happening? You think oil prices and gasoline prices will go higher?
It's inevitable. Look, this morning now OPEC's decision made, Russia joining in on OPEC's production extension. I should get that straight. Their extension to production cuts, and oil prices already up 1% this morning. We've had it really good the last few years, but it's going to be a new point from this point forward. The national average is already higher this year than it was last year. 2018 will be even higher, and this is the time of year where we may face higher prices towards the end of the year as oil companies liquidate part of their inventories. That kind of gets the market going a bit sometimes, and that's why gas prices will likely start to inch higher in the weeks and months ahead.
Patrick, how stable is this Saudi-Russia alignment? They need very different prices of oil in order to make their budgets work. So do you really see this sticking, over 2018, or do you see this sort of falling apart and oil prices coming back down as a result?
Well, I think the Saudis, and you bring up a good point, obviously two huge players in oil, at least for now they're both aligned. I think Russia's got a little bit different of agenda than what Saudi Arabia does. Of course, what's going on in Saudi Arabia right now with the corruption scandal and their economy is still on the mend, and they need a higher price of oil than Russia does. Russia's probably very eager to raise production, and I think you could see a little bit of cheating on Russia's behalf, though it's not a member of OPEC. So, the commentary could be a little bit different there. But keep in mind, in the backdrop, you have U.S. producers that are probably starting to salivate at the prospect of higher oil prices, and we could see a little bit of cheating from Russia. We'll see U.S. producers ramp up, but in the backdrop, keep in mind OPEC's policy change a year ago has led total U.S. oil inventories now this year to be over 120 million barrels lower than a year ago. So no matter what cheating does happen, looks like we'll continue to see inventories tighten, and that's going to send gas prices higher.
Yeah, Patrick, you brought up, though, how the U.S. oil producers, and I think they're the biggest factor into this, and especially because oil rig counts are up. You're starting to see that we're even exporting oil now, over a million barrels of oil a day we're getting out of this country. Won't that, it's a supply and demand story. Aren't they going to keep pumping? We're seeing analysts across the street say 60 is probably the top on oil that we'll see. We're probably going to go down to $50 a barrel.
Well, you raise a good point for the argument for higher gas prices. That is, U.S. oil exports are continuing to ramp up. And as long as that oil that was once landlocked to the United States is being sent off to other countries, we're going to face pressure here at home in the form of higher gas prices.
Let me ask you, I got to push back on this because you think gasoline's going higher, oil's going higher. What about the fact that the U.S. is a major producer? And that's the reason that oil prices actually, before these most recent, terror worries and worries about Saudi oil, started pushing oil back up again. But the fact is America is an incredible producer. And even Prince Al-Walid 3 years ago said, forget about $100 a barrel oil anymore. It's a new game because the U.S. is one of the leading producers. So how can you say long-term gas and oil are going up when we know that the supply in the market's going to be much more due to the U.S.'s production?
I would say that because Saudi's spare capacity is probably much higher than the U.S. right now. If OPEC aligned cuts oil production, the U.S. cannot quickly see an offset to that huge cut in production or those extension cuts. That's why, even though the U.S. has become a big player in global oil production, that we've seen in the last year, U.S. oil inventories have declined that 120 million barrels. So no matter what OPEC does, they are a larger force to be contended with than the U.S. Do expect U.S. producers to be a bit of a winner in this kind of situation, but they cannot offset the amount of cuts that are being talked about amongst OPEC and Russia.
All right, we will leave it there. Patrick, good to see you. Thanks so much. We'll be watching the developments. Patrick DeHaan there.